All right, welcome to our channel Bubbly, Alex and Laura. I am Alex Bubble and this is Ego Talks, where every week we do a 15-minute conversation or more like an interview where I don't know the topic. My wife Laura Bubble, who is behind the camera, will surprise me with the topic, and then I will put it through the ego's eyes or the ego point of view and see if it's right or wrong. So, Laura Bubble, what do you got prepared for us? Before I turn the ball to Laura Bubble, she always reminds me, subscribe to our beautiful, nice, awesome channel right here.
Okay, so today I would like us to talk about artificial intelligence. Tell me, what is artificial intelligence?
Ooh, okay, well that's an amazing topic. Laura Bubble knows I am, should I look at you or should I look at the camera? Look at you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know I like artificial intelligence, so I can expect that. There's a lot of explanations or definitions of artificial intelligence, but in my opinion is we use algorithms that employ data to make computers smarter, to make them learn something. So there's data, a lot of information out there, right? We use mathematical algorithms to get that data or to use that data to teach computers.
Okay, and how is this different from like a normal programming or, I don't know, IT?
It is actually quite different because in normal programming, you create all the rules of how you want the computer to behave. In other words, every line of code is coded, hard-coded, it's called by hand by some smart guys. And then you have the information, you have the rules, and you have the results. What do you want the program to do? Where with artificial intelligence, you have the information, like I said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you have an algorithm, right? You do not put the rules or how will the computer learn from that information. You just want to get a result.
Okay, it gets too technical. Well, tell me what like inspires you so much about
Artificial
AI?
intelligence. Well, I try to put it in simple terms, but it seems technical. I guess it is technical. But in one sentence is we have an ability to teach computers, which in my mind is pretty mind-boggling because it's a non-living thing. It's a computer, it's plastic metal, right? And we can use algorithms and not code, not hard code, and data and teach them. And even there's ways for them to self-teach themselves just using information. That's pretty impressive and amazing.
So, would artificial intelligence exchange people in the future?
Okay, so here's where we're gonna get to the topic of how the ego is related with that artificial intelligence, right? So,
I suppose.
there's a lot of maybe fear or misguided information or all sorts of what do you call it? Topics about artificial intelligence replacing humans or replacing jobs for sure, right?
Yes.
Like, because I said we make computers smarter by using data, and it's never been that much before, like so much smarter we can make them. So eventually they'll be taking jobs, right? That is true, but that's also already been happening for a long time, right? But here's where the fear really comes in. The ego, one of his favorite traits of the human ego is its fear.
Here, I can look at the camera.
I can look at the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. It's fear to be replaced, or it's fear to lose something. In this case, is money, job, title. And when the ego loses its title, for it, it's part of losing its identity. Because your title, like let's say I am a
Driver.
taxi driver. I've been a taxi driver for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As part of my ego identity, because in my mind, that's what I am. I'm a taxi driver, right?
Yeah, and you've been taxi driver for 20 years.
So, but you're not though. You are a human being before you're a taxi driver, okay? I know you've been driving a taxi for 20 years, but you're not a taxi driver. You're acting as a taxi driver. You are a human being.
And this is how you make money.
Oh, fair enough. That's your job, right? That's your
Yes.
job. But in no way a human being can tell me I cannot do anything else.
Okay, but this is all you know, all you have done your whole life, and at some point someone tells you from now on you cannot drive your taxi because, or there are so many already cheaper and easier to access and more reliable even self-driving cars, and you lose your job and you are like 50 or 60 years old, and what do you do?
Okay, well, that's exactly what an ego says, just like what you said in people's
Okay, and
minds.
what
It's
would you say
exactly
to
what
these
you said.
people?
Was it change is always change is constant. I'm not the one person saying that. That's being said before. The only constant thing in life is change. So now we're in front of that change. Before we were changed when the cars came in, and there was no horse riding anymore. So humankind continued somehow, right? But what the goal of these conversations here is to discover or take the ego out to light. And here is the ego, like just like you described. I'm complaining. Oh, now this artificial intelligence is going to take my job. So I'm attacking something. Beautiful. There's food for the ego of the taxi driver, who now has something to hate or attack or blame because he doesn't feel good. You see what the ego does is, right, that it is a change, and it's probably not, we're not going to have taxi drivers in the future. It's a real change. But by complaining and attacking it, are you going to stop it?
Okay, how are artificial intelligence and ego connected? Like, is there a pure connection between the things? Can the one destroy the other, or?
That's a deeper and interesting question. But did I answer the question of the taxi driver? Because I thought we left some things unanswered before we go, if they're connected or not.
Oh.
Like, because you asked me what will he do when he's 50 or 60, right? And
Yeah,
he
and
has
what
no
will
job.
he do?
But in a situation where we have the technology that we can have a safer ride, right? No human has to lose sleep at night to drive a taxi, or maybe even increasing the accident rate. And young women were not going to be afraid to get in a taxi no matter where, right? Because it's like we have cases where people have, right? Or people are falling asleep behind the wheel because they've been working 14-hour shifts, etc., 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 right? If we're only going to have AI do taxi driving if it's safer than humans. So if it is safer, right, in all aspects, tell me one reason why we're not accepting it, and then retrain that person to do something else. Maybe he didn't even like being a taxi driver all his life. But if he did, then he probably will still have an option to do it. But regardless, Laura Babo, it is not food for the ego. If he says change is coming, I've got two options. Well, I might retrain, or in three options. I should retire if I'm 60. Maybe that's an option, if it is an option. And third one is I'll continue being the best taxi driver possible, enjoying myself if I still want to do it. But in neither one of them, there's room for the ego to complain. Because it's not going to be productive, complaining and hating, which is exactly what the ego always wants to do. It's either blaming the wheat, or for, or fat, or wars, or what. We're always blaming something, and now is AI. But it's here and it's coming. So blaming is not going to stop it. We should adapt with it, use it for our benefits.
Okay.
Okay, so connecting the AI and
Yeah,
the ego.
what's the thing that bonds AI and ego? Why and how are they connected?
I've been thinking about that quite a bit. I don't know if the ego invents the AI, or AI threatens the ego's survival, or I'm not sure. It's a deep question.
How would the AI threaten the ego survival?
Just like I said, not only taking a job, but some people are thinking that eventually computers will take over the earth. There will be like living things, right?
Mm-hmm.
With time, let's say 100, 200, 500,000 years, with this speed of progress, many people are thinking, or some people are saying, that computers can take over humans and we will be slaves. Like, not slaves, but like, right?
Yeah.
We're not. And so in that case, you could say that the ego, which is represented in humans, is being dominated by computers, by artificial intelligence, which is robots or whatever, however they're gonna look like. I don't even know, right? If it happens, or is it that AI is building, or sorry, ego is building AI to create longer life, more money, because the ego always wants to have more, and by building AI, you can make more money, you can hopefully maybe even live longer with the help of technology to invent something like that, protect yourself and things like that. So it's a really interesting question, which is which, and I think the connections are more than one in there between AI and, but I think the ego is more threatened by AI than AI. AI cannot be threatened by the ego in any way because it's not a living thing, right?
Okay, why did you switch from finance to AI, and what do you do now?
I switched because when I first understood that by taking a bunch of data or information and applying some mathematical algorithm, we can teach a computer to do something better than a human. Like I've given you many examples, but one simple one is where right now we have we call them neural networks. We have networks, or let's call them models because it's a simple term, that can evaluate an X-ray scan by a patient with lung cancer or disease with a better percentage rate, precision rate, than a bunch, like a cohort of doctors together. So that's mind-boggling. Isn't that crazy? So when I first learned that, I said, that's it. I want to switch. I want to be part of this AI change. And the reason I want to do it is because I think that applying AI to eventually connect with the human mind, we can achieve things like less stress, more joy, maybe even reducing, eliminating the ego out of our minds.
How
Well,
can this happen?
In my interpretation, the ego is a collection of thoughts that create a movie or a scenario in your mind, that you have a name for the movie. It's called Aleks in my case. I have characters in my movie. I have past, future, important things, not important things, good, bad, whatever. I have created the movie in my head where I live, and I suffer with it because living through my movie, going through life, that's where the difficulties happen. That's where the fears, the worries, the past trauma, if you have any, or future projections happen. But if we come out of this movie, what we have heard now called present moment or enjoy life more, we've all heard these new topics, we are happier, we are better, we have less stress, we're more productive. But it seems like we can't do that very well because we like the movie in our head so much. We created it and we are really invested in our baby. We don't want to let it go. I think a computer chip or some sort of a AI software in the future will be able to turn off that movie so you can breathe, be present, and without meditating or doing some sort of methods, with a push of a button, you'll be able to get out of the mind and be present.
So easy.
That's how I envision it. In one sentence, right? That's the goal. It has to be possible. I mean, it's a bunch of thoughts, right? But when I'm thinking it's not a bunch of thoughts. It's all has meaning, and it's, oh wow, it's conversation and movie, and it's, you know, on your mind or the person who is listening. But if I can turn it off, and so far we don't know how to turn it off. We use, as I said, meditation or some sort of practices or exercises or alcohol or drugs or whatever to let, you know, I just want to relax, right? We say. But what if you could do it with a button?
Just to switch it off?
Yeah, so it's just the monkey mind, just that ego that we call it, this whole image, just turn it off. Gone.
And there won't be no ego talks?
There'll be no ego talks. That's kind of the goal, right? No ego talks here, no ego talks here eventually.
Sounds great. Well, okay, I like it. So maybe you can say something for a conclusion about the connection of ego and AI.
Yeah. Well, just to wrap it up, ego right now is afraid of AI because it's taking its jobs, my world, and it's rightly so. But the bigger fear or the bigger problem, the ego doesn't know yet, because I believe that with the help of AI, we can eliminate the ego altogether, like I just explained, right?
Great.
So that's what I am going to be working on.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And we will see you, Alex, next week.
Next topic, ego talks.
Who knows?
Thank you, Laura Babo. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment, because the topics are endless and we want to hear about them, and we're going to put them right through the Ego Talks viewpoint. And remember, the most important thing is don't struggle. Babo!